I have a problem where I have to pick scabs. Like I just have to do it. Like it's a
Yeah.
problem. It's why I've seen really bad. It's why I
No, but
watched The
like, what about the
Nun.
movie, Blair? Okay, so there was this movie that I've seen twice. Michael, you've seen it. You've seen half of it. We fell asleep in it, but um, Pawn Shop Chronicles, and it's one of those movies that was like a straight to DVD release. Like had a bunch of huge cast members. So like it's Brendan Fraser, Elijah Wood, Vincent D'Onofrio, Matt Dillon, Paul Walker, like all these like really big names that clearly one of those things that probably just spiraled out of control because the producer was like, we've got Matt Dillon, and then Elijah Wood was like, well, if Matt Dillon's on it. But essentially what it is it's like an anthology movie about these like this town with a pawn shop on it. Pawn shop has nothing to do with anything in the movie. It's just kind of the center like connection for all the different stories that happen. There's 4 different stories, and they're all awful. Like Elijah Wood is this weird serial killer guy. They're all horrible. But the one with Brendan Fraser is fantastic. Brendan Fraser plays this Elvis impersonator that signs a deal with the devil to be like successful. But his intro for the scene, like his bit is walking into this town that have 2 competing barber shops, and he just wants to get a haircut. And it's like something out of a Coen Brothers movie where the entire town is either on like the side of the blue barber shop or the red barber shop, and it becomes like gang warfare of these 2 barber shops that are just competing with each other, but they're also right beside each other. And he goes into one and they like cut his ear, so he goes into the other one, and they just keep like physically abusing him because he's gone to the other one. And it's just like, it's the only scene in the movie that, you know, I was watching it with Nigel, and we just kind of turned to each other and went like, this is actually like a good moment from this god-awful piece of shit movie. But no, it's a lot of fun. Pawn Shop Chronicles. But no, and Brendan Fraser's great as the Elvis guy too. Like he's plays the role fantastically.
Now, I wish I could actually find like a bad movie, or like maybe this is a bad movie, but I don't know. I liked it. I went to go see Rampage with a friend, which is the type of movie that Blair would best describe as the type of movie where it really wants you to know the full name of the main character every chance it gets. Basically, I remember halfway through the movie, like I was kind of like I wasn't underwhelmed. I was just like I was just watching it with a friend. It was like a Tuesday night. It was cheap at Imagine Cinemas, but then like halfway through the movie, there's like this incredible set piece. And please correct me if I'm wrong for anyone else that has seen it. But the way I remembered it playing out was just it was like one of the most creative uses of close-ups I've ever seen, where the premise of the scene is that Dwayne Johnson, Davis Okoye, by the way, is in he's in he's in an airplane, like sort of a military airplane hangar. Or sorry, just an airplane, not a hangar. And he's there with like a Walking Dead guy, and the Walking Dead guy's like, let me tell you, we've captured this gorilla because it is rapidly expanding, and we need to I can't remember if it's pretty forgettable. I can't remember if they need to get rid of it or if they need to like weaponize it, whatever. The point is, the gorilla just starts getting bigger. And what's brilliant about this sequence is that it plays out exclusively in close-up, but also technically in wides. But because the gorilla is occupying every single shot and is like, it's sort of like the focal point of most shots, it feels like you never somebody's close-up. And it felt like a rainy scene. It was amazing. And like my friend and I were like, it's tense, it's exciting. You always feel like the gorilla's gonna eat someone because its head is getting bigger. So it just starts out in a series of close-ups with Jeffrey Dean Morgan and like Dwayne Johnson. And with apologies, I forget who the other people in the scene are. We're just seeing their reactions, getting scared of the thing getting bigger. But then by the end of the scene, it's like, even when you have a full body shot of The Rock, who's a big man, you just still have like this gorilla dominating the frame at all times. And like, it sort of inverts the grammar of the scene, and it's really fun.
So I didn't like the remake of Suspiria. Frankly, I'm not even a huge like Argento fan, but I do like Giallo. But when I saw the remake Suspiria, I found it felt very devoid of all energy and emotion and like really evocative imagery, except for one sequence in which Dakota Johnson's main character is dancing and is literally hexing another person while she dances. And so she's contorting her body in normal ways, and in a practice room elsewhere in the building, another girl is just literally being cracked into pieces in very grotesque ways, and it's absolutely disgusting. There's like a lot of featured drool as this person is like looks incredibly like beaten up. It's just so grossly contorted. The effects are quite good, and it really struck me as something very evocative in an otherwise really tame feeling film, a really muted feeling film, which is very strange to me given how extreme the original Suspiria felt. And I know other people have different opinions on it. I like some of the director's other work. I thought I Am Love was quite good, especially the ending, but like Suspiria really flat for me. It didn't have any energy. So to have this one sequence where you have really cool movement of dance and then that juxtaposed with like body horror was a really, really well put together sequence.
So there's this movie called All About Steve, and it has Sandra Bullock and Bradley Cooper, and it's a bad movie, and it's essentially about a woman who goes on a blind date and then stalks this guy like across the country, because he's like a reporter, and she just sort of follows him, and they sort of make her this like, I mean, I think they're trying to have you empathize with her, but she just comes off as like kind of a creepy, like stalkery woman who's like not the most like stable, and the only way that they know how to make her like redeemable in the end is that they go to a mine, and he's doing a report on a mine where a bunch of children have fallen into this mine, and it's a throwaway joke in the trailer. Even you see her like running down a hill being like, Steve, Steve, and then she also falls into the mine. And the whole, like, third act of the movie is her stuck in this mine with one of the kids who was, like, forgotten. So if she had never fallen into the mine, they would have just, like, left this kid in the mine. And it's, like, her staying with him, and she, like, talks him through. And it just becomes a totally different movie point. And then at the end, like, Bradley Cooper is, like, finds her, like, oh, you're like a good person because you like fell into this mine and like helped this child. And it's not that it's good. It's just that as I was watching it, all I could think about was the people who had to write that movie and were like, all right, how do we take this character and actually like make her redeemable? And they're like, I know, put her in a mine, put a small boy that like the police and all these rescue people forgot about in the mine, and have her calm him down, but she doesn't save him. She's just also stuck in the mine, and they just get saved together. And I think at one point she's like, I will not leave without this kid. It's like so bad, but so amazing.
Like, I always hated that in 21st century comedies. And this is not Sandra Bullock's fault. She just happens to be in a bunch of these. Like, there's another one called The Proposal, where there's like a big series near the climax of that film where like she falls out of a boat, or someone close to her falls out of a boat, and it becomes like a big moment where it's like, oh, are they gonna get hypothermia? Maybe I'm misremembering it, but like I hate the mock sincerity of modern comedies where it's like going into the third act like they don't know how to sustain any tension through like gags. So instead, like, you need to fall back on something like a child fell into a mine and we gotta save them. Like, it's bizarre. Like, I thought of like a mediocre comedy from the late 80s that actually just heightens its comic conceit. There's a movie, it's not great, it's called The Sweet Smell, it's called The Secret to My Success. It's like a Michael J. Fox movie. And I remember like I was watching it with my girlfriend Ash, and like we got to the ending of that film and we were like, this is actually like a well done sort of comedy of manners, where it's sort of like one of those who's sleeping with who bits, where it's like people keep running from one bedroom into the other bedroom, turning on the lights and going, you're not who I thought you were, and then they like run back into the room. And it's like back in the day, people used to know how to use jokes to escalate stakes, but nowadays it's like it just doesn't feel confident to fall back on melodrama in that kind of a genre. Like, melodrama can exist in comedy, but it just feels, to me, it always feels out of place and usually fairly insincere.
Well, they're what I call the like thin black text than bold red text comedies because all the title designs are thin black text, and then like all
Oh yeah,
About
big
Steve,
red font movies.
yeah,
That's what
All
they call
About
them. Yeah.
is in thin
The
black
Holiday.
text, and then Steve is in thick bold red text, and they're all the exact same thing. They're always like the woman leaning on the guy in the picture on a white background, or like, so the Matthew McConaughey one, what was that one?
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
See, I don't know, maybe it's just because I grew up with so many of these movies, but How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days I still actively love, and The Proposal I also actively love, because they're actually not that badly rom-coms, and like the people in them aren't like so escalated. Like All About Steve is literally like this woman who, like, they don't really say why, she's just sort of socially awkward and doesn't really understand like certain social cues, maybe, like they don't really go into it, and it's just like she goes on a blind date and is like, he was great, I'm gonna now stalk him across the country, and you're just like, wait, hold up. And Steve is always like this very calm, normal like presence.
Yeah,
Even
like
though
the fun. Yeah.
being
Like,
stalked?
sorry to interrupt it.
these people.
Like it's weird because back in like you sort of think of like the Hoxian rom-com where screwball comedies were usually driven by like a woman going after a dude because like the dude is like, say, bringing a baby or whatever. It's like this dude's got to stick up his ass and she needs to show him how to have fun. And I feel like All About Steve is sort of trying to be evocative of that, like not necessarily that period in time, but that kind of story about like yeah, she's sort of like it's different from the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, where it's sort of like she needs to push harder. Like instead of her being pursued by the guy, she needs to like get him out of his comfort zone and do something. But like you said, Mandy, she's a psychopath who like
Yeah, like it's not a good. I'm like there are plenty of women who are like, because I think it's more about like never give up, like follow your dreams and like, you know, do what you think is right. And it's like, no, but she stalks him for the entire movie. That can't be the angle.
Can I tell you, actually, one of my happiest childhood memories was going to see All About Steve with my friend because no one was in the theater. Like, the movie bombed, but, like, we were the only ones in the theater, so we just spent the entire theater playing tag. Like, sorry, the entire movie, just, like, running through the seats and, like, jumping at each other. It was fun.
The movie made $40 million off a $25 million budget.
That is not a bomb.
All About Steve, really?
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, it is. Sorry, I'm not good at math.
It came out the same year as The Proposal, actually, so it's possible that.
And The Blind
people's-
Side, yeah.
I don't think those were all the same year, were they?
I'm pretty sure, like, that was the year of Bullock, like 2009. Let me look it up.
Wow, I love Sandra Bullock.